Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to have you all here with us. Welcome to Cres Commencement 2023. My name is John English, and I'm the Program Director for the Conflict and Dispute Resolution Master's Program. And before I go any further, I want to let you in on a little secret. Some of you already know this. We use a fake acronym for our program. We take the C from conflict and the res from resolution, and we all cap CRES. So when you hear us say Cres, as you undoubtedly will throughout this ceremony, that's what we're talking about. Okay, so now that you all have inside knowledge, we can move forward. On behalf of the faculty, staff, students, and alumni of the University of Oregon School of Law, I welcome today's graduates, families, friends, staff, and faculty. It's really a pleasure to have you all here. Before we go further, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that the University of Oregon is located on. Kalapuya Ilihi is the traditional indigenous homeland of the Kalapuya people. The Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their homeland by the US government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. Descendants of the Kalapuya people are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians. They and other indigenous people of the tribal nations of Oregon continue to make lasting and important contributions to our community, the UO, and across the land we now refer to as Oregon. And we want to express our respect for the 9 federally recognized tribal nations of Oregon and all other displaced indigenous peoples who call Oregon home. It's my honor to be with you today to celebrate this class of 2023. For these graduates, today marks the finish line to a marathon, not a sprint, right? Heard that before. Marked by coursework, internships, research projects, stress, existential crises, peaks and valleys. Your presence here today is a testament to your grit, your determination, and your commitment. And I'd like to take a moment to thank those of you who have supported you on this journey. To those who are not graduating, we are deeply grateful that you have joined us today. Graduate school can at times be an overwhelming experience, so thank you for all that you've offered our graduates. Your support has been critical to their success. Graduates, I invite you to give a round of applause for all those in the room and online who have supported you throughout this process. All of you have studied ways to engage with conflict. You've studied the risks and opportunities associated with people having profound differences. And every one of you will have immediate and important opportunities to apply your skills in the world, in communities, in workplaces, in families, and within yourselves. There is no shortage of chances of places where you will have an opportunity for impact. That is exciting, and we're here to celebrate that. To the faculty and staff in attendance today, and to those who are unable to attend, I want to thank you all for your unwavering commitment. And if I can just take a moment and recognize our platform party. We have Dean Marcelin Burke, who is the Dean and Dave Frohnmeyer Chair on Leadership in Law. Professor Eric Gervin, who is our Associate Dean of Faculty Research and Programs. Professor Holly Arrow, and Professor Ali Reyes Santos. And we also have Ray Sykes, who's our Associate Dean for Finance and Administration. And we have Sarah Ellis, who is our Director of Communications, and they're members of our leadership team. And we also have Jen Reynolds here, who is our Associate Dean for Academic Affairs. So thank you all for being here today. Cres this year celebrates our 19th year, providing our students with the skills and knowledge for productive engagement with conflict. The knowledge and skills gained in the Cres program are universally valuable, and our students can have confidence that they will be able to apply them in whatever career they choose. We strive to teach our students to negotiate, to mediate, to facilitate, to listen, to speak up, and to lead. And as I look out today, I'm confident that we have succeeded. I know that each of you will thrive in whatever path you choose to follow. And the Cres team was privileged to have been part of that journey, so congratulations. I'd now like to introduce our next speaker, Marcelin A. Burke, Dean and Dave Frohnmeyer Chair in Leadership and Law. Dean Burke came to Oregon Law in July of 2017. Before that, she was Associate Dean for Academic Affairs at the University of Houston Law Center. From 2009 to 2013, Dean Burke served in the U.S. Department of the Interior. Initially, she served as Deputy Director for Programs and Policy for the Bureau of Land Management, and then as the Acting Assistant Secretary for the Department of the Interior following a 2011 appointment by President Barack Obama. Dean Burke earned her bachelor's degree from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and her law degree from Yale Law School. Please welcome Dean Burke to the podium.
Thank you, John, and welcome to our graduates and our family and friends. I am so honored and excited to be here with you to celebrate the accomplishments of the Conflict and Dispute Resolution class of 2023. To the class of 2023, you set out on a course and you finished it. You've achieved much during this time, and we're so very proud of you. And I want to take this moment to celebrate your resilience and your success. During your time in graduate school, you have gained and practiced so many tools for artfully navigating conflicts, some of them internally, some of them externally, some of them personal, some of them professional. And having more tools in your toolbox than when you arrived is indeed something to celebrate. And we all know that conflict is a natural part of the human experience. And it's in the healthy and mutual respectful ways, however, doesn't come naturally. Today, perhaps more than any other time in our lives, we need the newly acquired skills of our graduates and the knowledge, along with your passion and your compassion. As John said, you're going to have so many opportunities to practice what you've learned here, to create positive change and to impact the people and the environment around you. And you now have those tools to drive that change and chart your own path to success, however you define it. So all that you've gained here is truly something to celebrate. And I want to say to the family and friends that are gathered, just to repeat my thanks to you for supporting your loved one during this journey. And I know the support won't end, right? That we're all in this together, even though, just like being in school, no one sat on the front row. I know you are really here for them. And we really do appreciate you taking this moment to celebrate with us. And so remember that you'll always be a part of Oregon Law and the University of Oregon. And I know there's only one thing you're going to remember from what I said, and it really is the most important. Congratulations to the class of 2023. Thank you. And now, are you going to introduce Ducky? All right, back to John.
Okay, I am now proud to introduce our first student speaker, Ducky Joseph. And Ducky completed a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Studies at the University of Vermont. Through the Cres program, Ducky has focused their studies on justice, abolition, healing, and care work, with generative approaches to conflict at the center. Ducky has completed internships with Dragonfly and the Resolve Center for Conflict Resolution. Their final project is an abolition-informed resource guide to the social and community services of Jackson County, Oregon. Please welcome Ducky to the podium.
Talk about limping to the finish line. Dearly beloved, We are gathered here today to celebrate the lifespan and mourn the closing of our time together as Cres Cohort 17. We've come a long way, baby. These 2 years have flown by so fast. It seems like just yesterday that I set foot in the elevator up to the 4th floor Lewis Lounge, exchanged glances with Chantel that could only be interpreted as, who the hell is this person I'm going to be sharing a classroom with, and entered the small but mighty Cres family. While our cohort has certainly shrunk in size along the way, I feel like we've all grown and learned so much in our time together. Our skills have developed, and I've watched each of us lean heavily into our passions and learn so much about who we are and how we want to exist in the world. Our classroom experiences have certainly had their share of challenges, like trying to get into the building on a Saturday morning, but they've ultimately been rewarding. We've watched each other grow as public speakers, presenters, and facilitators through so many role plays, group projects, class dialogues, and presentations. Speaking for myself, I can think back to the first couple negotiations role plays where I was incredibly panicked and unsure of myself. I can safely say that I am a much more confident Sally Soprano now than I was then. This is also a trans joke. Happy Pride. The Cres program and you, my dear classmates, have taught me so much about how to creatively and confidently engage in conflict, how to hold space for other people in conflict, how to build bridges instead of walls, and yes, how to differentiate harbor seals and fur seals. Thank you, Hadley. One of the greatest aspects of this program is how much diversity exists within our interests and our passions. Contributed to some of the most exciting classroom conversations as we pushed each other to new levels of understanding on topics ranging from power dynamics and social location to the finer details of participatory action research. I've gotten to see some of you flourish in classes outside of this program, following your interests in trauma-informed care, environmental justice, and statistics. It's been a truly enriching experience to explore this field alongside you all, and I've learned so much from you in the classroom, on Canvas, over lunches, at the Unthank Hall in Agate Alley, and in the feedback we've given each other throughout our time together. I came into the Cres program with a background in political organizing around environmental justice and prison abolition. My goals throughout my time at the U of O have been very much aligned with these realms, and the university has provided me with an excellent opportunity to explore the depths of these fields through the lenses of social conflict, justice, and equity. My journey has included classes on incarceration and abolition, prevention science, environmental justice, trauma and healing, radical self-love, and weightlifting. I've also found meaningful and generative experiences through my internships with the Resolve Center and with Dragonfly Partners, mediating and facilitating a wide range of conflicts and developing experience in holding the tensions of others with compassion and with care. My work is culminating in a terminal project whose aims are to shine a light on the failings of social service providers through the lens of abolition, and to make services more accessible to those who need them. All told, my experience within the Cres program has enabled me to hone my own analysis and sense of self, draw connections between numerous fields to build a comprehensive vision for a better world, and proactively apply that analysis and that vision in the service of a community that I care deeply about. I am grateful for the experience. I suppose I should dispense some advice as well, although I'm not very good at coming up with pre-planned, out-of-context, catch-all wisdoms. I'll try my best. I think the main thing that I would like to impart to you all is the importance of community. As we've discussed in the classroom many times, conflict exists among humans because we are social creatures with an innate desire to interact and engage with one another. As you move through the various trials and challenges of your life, remember that you're only strong as the community you foster around yourself. I know I would not have made it this far into my academic career if not for the care, love, and support of friends, family, classmates, faculty, and more. That old saying about how it takes a village to raise a child. The truth is, it takes a village to do just about anything, including the pursuit of a graduate degree. The other side of that coin, of course, is that with a village at your back, you can do just about anything. The second thing that I want to tell you all is to suspend judgment. I'm sure we've all heard this enough in the classroom, but it's quite possibly the most important lesson that I've learned in my time here. The world is full of surprises, random turns, missteps, and accidents, all of them lessons waiting to be learned. Don't be quick to judge others or yourself, for that matter. We can only be responsible for the things that we know and the ways that we respond to that information. And ultimately, we don't know what we judge too quickly. We are only ever given partial information as we move through our lives, and every interaction we have, every fork in the road, is not an obstacle or an enemy, but rather an opportunity to gain just a little bit more knowledge and better equip ourselves for the journey ahead. Don't skip that opportunity. Stay curious, stay open, and stay attuned to the needs and gifts of those around you. Never be so kind that you forget to be clever. Never be so clever that you forget to be kind. Never be so polite you forget your power. Never wield such power that you forget to be polite. This is not my own advice. These words come from none other than Taylor Swift. I still believe it's relevant and valuable, so there you have it. This leads me to my final piece of advice. Inspiration comes from many different sources. Learn to find it everywhere you look. There are people in this world whose goal it is to limit the option of others, to tell us how to exist and how not to exist in this world. Do not listen to them. Find your happiness, your inspiration, your joy in whatever form it comes, and lean fully into it. If that's quote unquote teeny bopper pop music and reality television, that's amazing. I hope you got Taylor Swift tickets. If it's nature, then spend some time in the forest or by the river. If it's athletics, then go move your body or cheer on your favorite team. If it's statistics, keep making those spreadsheets. If for you inspiration comes from picking up cool looking rocks and carrying them around in your pockets all day, then cool, I wish you a happy and successful rock hounding. My point is, as long as your joy does not come at the expense of another's, it is a valid and worthwhile pursuit of your time. Don't let yourself be talked out of your passions. Pursue them fiercely and share them with the world. They're a source of grounding, a chance at personal fulfillment, and a blessing that you give yourself and those around you. Luckily for all of you, public speaking is not, in fact, one of my passions, so I'll wrap this up. I sincerely hope that the skills we've learned over these past 2 years will help all of us to show up more authentically in our lives and in the world around us. We've worked extremely hard through intense challenges, both inside the classroom and outside, and the success of today is well-deserved, even for those of us who haven't quite finished up everything. I hope that we continue to stay in touch, support each other, and strive to effect a positive change in the world. I believe in us. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ducky. I'm now pleased to introduce our second student speaker, Hadley Underwood. Hadley's undergraduate degrees are in Recreation and Leisure Studies, Human Resource Management, and Business Administration. During her time in the Cres program, she interned with the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, the University of Oregon Ombuds Office, the University of Oregon Student Conflict Resolution Center, and the Center for Dialogue and Resolution, where she is helping to develop and implement a new data dashboard tool to help the center analyze the effectiveness of its work and report its successes to external partners and funders. Please welcome Hadley to the podium.
I'd just like to say really quickly that Ducky did amazing. I'm very proud of them. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for coming today to celebrate our graduating cohort from the Cres program. I cannot believe how fast these 2 years have flown by, but here we are, ready to reflect and celebrate all of our achievements with family, friends, and faculty. I first learned about the Cres program in 2018. I was visiting Eugene for the weekend to watch an unbelievable football game against the University of Washington. Before the game, a family friend who was attending the JD program offered to take me on a tour of the law school. I was, of course, wowed by the library, the sheer size of the lecture halls, but one door stood out, and it was on the first floor, right back there previously, before we moved to the fourth floor. And it was called the Conflict and Dispute Resolution Program. When I asked my guide about the door, they said, "Oh, that's the program where people go to hug each other." Flash forward to 2021 and imagine how nervous I was walking into orientation, wondering if I would be hugging people all day. But that wasn't the case at all. Instead, it was playing minute to win it games like rolling an Oreo down your face and trying to catch it in your mouth. Arguably much better. I was still a bit wary about my surroundings until our law school amazing race. That's when I asked Ducky to take a picture of me with a cutout of Puddles. Their enthusiastic answer was all I needed to know that I was in the right place. For those of you that don't know, Puddles is the nickname of the University of Oregon's mascot, or the Oregon Duck. My cohort and family are well aware of how much I love our mascot and how hard I've been trying to get my elusive selfie with Puddles for the past 2 years. While I can't say I have been taught proper hugging techniques during my time in Cres, I have learned plenty of other important skills. I have watched my cohort grow into our conflict resolution skills. We mediated cases about the reintroduction of wolves, negotiated a collective bargaining agreement between a city and police force, and learned about the psychology behind a note from the reality TV series, The Jersey Shore. Great work, Ducky. As much as I enjoyed my cohort in the classroom, our experiences outside were even better. From getting ice cream at Prince Puckler's or happy hours on the porch at Agate Alley, all of you have inspired and imparted excellent wisdoms that I won't take for granted. Coming to the University of Oregon in 2018 wasn't my first time here. In fact, I have applied and been admitted to the University of Oregon 4 times. The first time I came to visit was in 2010, and I was immediately overwhelmed by the sheer size of the school. I was not ready to come here, so I went to Western Washington University, the closest university to Alaska in the lower 48, where I'm from. The second time I applied was when I was trying to find a way out of Western Washington before persevering and finishing my degree. The third time was when I decided to go back to school for my second and third bachelor's degree. Again, it just wasn't the right time, so I went to Boise State University, which brings me to my fourth and final time when I was accepted into the Cres program. I'm now at the point where I can call myself a professional student since I have 3 bachelor's degrees and a certificate, but each of these degrees have provided me with opportunities to learn more about myself and the world around me. My recreation and leadership studies degree taught me the importance of genuineness and that the outdoors should not be limited to anyone. My human resource management and business administration degrees allowed me to explore workplace conflicts and figure out that accounting is not my thing. But of all of those, I'm most proud of my certificate in data analytics. Now you may be thinking, why would someone who loves data be in a conflict resolution program? Well, it's because I believe that data and conflict resolution can be combined to create changes at all levels. In fact, the data I am doing for the Center for Dialogue and Resolution will hopefully help them gain more funding for providing vital restorative justice programs. I'm so thankful that Cres allowed me to explore all of these passions. As you all can gather, I have been through my fair share of graduation ceremonies. The advice from speakers I've heard has been far-ranging. This includes, don't worry, parents, your child's recreation degree is totally worth it, to your typical cliches of wear sunscreen and do your taxes. Don't feel too bad for my parents. They've been able to do some pretty cool trips because of my tourism degree. Remember those flight-sing trips to Denali that we went on? The first piece of wisdom I have to impart on all of us today is to trust your gut, even if there's holes in it. I had to throw out one gut joke in here because I have ulcerative colitis, so that's where the holes come from. But in all seriousness, listen to your body and listen to its needs. Your body will tell you whether you are doing something that feels amazing or completely unpleasant. I wish I would have listened to my body more in the past, and I'm thankful that I'm learning to work with it now. The second is empathy. The definition of empathy that I would like all of us to take with us today is from Brené Brown. Brené Brown is a professor and author who focuses on topics ranging from vulnerability to empathy. Brené Brown notes that we need to dispel the myth that empathy is walking in someone else's shoes. Rather than walking in your shoes, I need to learn how to listen to the story you tell about what it's like in your shoes and believe, even when it doesn't match my experiences. In short, empathy is understanding what the other person is feeling, not feeling it for them. Practice perspective taking, lead with curiosity, recognize your emotions, and practice mindfulness when in conflict. The third is genuineness. Genuineness is understanding the authenticity of oneself and bringing that into the world. As Robert Bolton wrote, genuineness is essential to all vital relationships. To the degree that I lack authenticity, I'm unable to relate significantly to any other person. I must dare to be me to be able to relate to you. Being my genuine, authentic self has allowed me to take off the mask I used during my previous degrees. In the past, I never shared with people about my autoimmune disease. With the shift in mindset, I felt comfortable talking with not only my cohort, but others. I did not shy away when describing my love of data and relished in the fact that I am the stats queen of Cres, nor did I try to hide the fact that I love sea otters, watching football, and cheese pizza from Hey Neighbor. It has allowed me to be able to relate to others that I may never have been given myself the opportunity to get to know. It has allowed me to create deeper friendships than I ever thought was possible for myself. Before closing, I'd like to thank a handful of people. To my parents, thank you for your continued support over the years, from driving over to the coast to go watch whales to sending root beer from my favorite brewery in Alaska. You made this worth it. To my sister, who couldn't be here today, thank you for cheering me on and rooting for my successes. To my brother-in-law, even though you went to Oregon State, I'm thankful for all of your advice with grad school and for teaching me how to do my taxes. To my best friend, Margaret, thank you for letting me use your home as a place to relax between terms and for providing the best laughs. Lastly, to Cheryl and Vernon Campbell, thank you for being my family here in Eugene. I have loved going to concerts, sitting on your porch, and taking care of your precious corgi, Sophie. So as Abraham Lincoln would say in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes. Congratulations, Cres graduates of 2023. I can't wait to see what the future holds for us.
Thank you, Hadley. Thanks to both of you. I am now pleased to introduce our commencement keynote speaker, Professor Ali Reyes Santos. Dr. Ali Reyes Santos is an independent scholar and consultant. She teaches as a professor of practice at the University of Oregon School of Law and is the associate director of the Mellon-funded Pacific Northwest Just Futures Institute for Climate and Racial Justice. She formerly taught as an associate professor in the Department of Indigenous, Race, and Ethnic Studies at UO. And she is also the founder of ACC, a BIPOC-led consulting firm that facilitates organizational transformations and community engagement in the nonprofit sector, government, higher ed, and social and environmental organizations. ACC's team offers an approach to social and environmental justice and conflict resolution grounded in ancestral healing practices that serve the individual and the collective. Dr. Reyes Santos currently serves in Oregon's Racial Justice Council's Environmental Equity Committee and as the co-director of Bohio Sibanini, a 501c3 nonprofit. Please welcome Professor Reyes Santos to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. We're awake? Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak today, dear class of 2024. I know that getting to this day has been a journey for each one of you. I bet you have amazing memories of laughter. I know because I had you in my class on the weekends here, we laughed quite a bit. And I've also been amazed at new projects and ideas emerging from your classroom discussions. I also know that there were days that could have been better. Those days when fulfilling those course requirements during the first year seemed impossible. Or when finding an internship was daunting. And then here we are, it happened. Doesn't it feel good? I think it does. You completed your master's degree and now you head out into the world to do your best to be of service. I remember being exactly where you are on commencement day, and I still smile. The joy of graduation never goes away from me. I share with you now what I did not know then that I wish I had known. It would have been super helpful in the long run. And I share it in the way of a story. You know, I like to tell stories, so I'm gonna tell you a story. After 11 years committed to 3 different degrees, I thought I knew exactly where my desire to serve communities would take me. I really thought I had it all figured out. You could say I was naive, maybe a little arrogant, maybe a little self-righteous. Those things would be fair. Now, almost 2 decades later, I know the truth. There really was no way for me to imagine the many unexpected twists and turns that would bring into my life opportunities to serve and learn with others beyond my imagination, including teaching all of you. I hope the stories I share with you today keep you open to what the world may have for you. It may not be what you wanted to do. It may not be where you wanted it to be. And it may be exactly where you need to be. I will close by sharing some tips of what I think are some things that are essential to succeed. Whenever those unexpected twists come to you, you have a sense of how to proceed and move forward. I began my story the year before I graduated from my PhD program. By then, I had promised myself, believe it or not, to never ever become a professor. I began to consider careers in what I consider to be more community-oriented workspaces. And then twist. A dissertation fellowship and family brought me to Eugene, Oregon, as I was finishing writing. The following year, as I was applying for a wonderful union job in LA, I was so looking forward to going back to California and doing grassroots organizing again. The opportunity to teach in ethnic studies at U of Oregon opened as an instructor. I applied, well, first because I thought it's only for a year. In a year, I'll go somewhere else. And also because by then I had been building community with amazing people committed to the things I care about here in Eugene. And I had somehow built this very queer, people of color world right here in Eugene, and it felt really good. I thought to myself, I can teach, that comes easy for me. It can be a good transition, why not, 1 year. And here we are 17 years later. By the time that first year ended, I had fallen in love with teaching. The endless possibilities to transform people and open opportunities for them, as well as to be transformed myself. There's not a dull moment when you're teaching. No time to be bored. When time came and I was offered a tenure track job, what some may consider as the holy grail for many academics, at another university in the Midwest, I was completely in love with my community here and the teaching I was doing here and my students. And then twist again. I was offered suddenly a visiting scholar position for 1 more year at University of Oregon. And though many people thought I was making a mistake, I said no to the tenure track job in the Midwest and said yes to a visiting scholar position for 1 more year. It's just 1 more year. I'll go somewhere else after that. 1 year became 3, and I thought that would be the end of my time here, until the impossible, the kind of fairy tale happened. A tenure track job opened here, and I was hired. The joy I felt as a tenure track professor shocked me. I said I would never be a professor. And yet those were some of the most joyful days of my life. When I got tenure, the most joyful year of my life, I celebrated every day that year. I would just look at my mirror and say, I did it, yes. Who knew being a professor would make me so happy? At commencement, I didn't think so, but here we are. After tenure, I thought, okay, I'll have 30 more years, retire, become a full professor, do the thing. And then another twist. The story does not end here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here with you today and wouldn't have been your teacher. By the time I got tenure, I had just begun to work as a consultant. I never set out to become a consultant. I always said I could never do business of any kind, even though I had a bit of a stint as an Avon lady for a little while. I also did not just see my whole capacity and all the skills I had gained teaching and supporting social justice work for more than a decade. I used to say I'm only good for teaching and writing, and that is enough. There's nothing else that I'm good at.
I was in for a huge surprise with myself. A new door was unexpectedly opened by a nonprofit in town and also by my own alumni who were now working in government and changing the world in their own way. Suddenly, I began to get requests for diversity, equity, inclusion workshops, facilitation of hard conversations, transformations of workplace culture and climate. I was shocked as I began to get these emails from out of nowhere, or so I thought, what to do. I talked with one of my mentors, please call us when these things happen to you. We will be here. I reflected and I thought, let's try it. And I loved it so much. I still love it so much. I realized that I was good at it. I really enjoyed all the work, turning all these conversations into action, into community building. And also that I got to mentor newly graduates into doing the work with me as well. I also suddenly imagined building classes and internships around projects that would get students to learn by doing, something I had never imagined before. Let's get students to the community and learn doing things. And that was the last twist. Learning about how to do that work led me to you, to Cres, to teaching here, to the law school, where I get to be inspired every day by students like you. So when I thought I was leaving completely academia, John is my witness, and Eric as well, here I was, deeply inspired by each one of you in the classroom. Eventually, I left tenure, meaning I left job security, also something some people thought was a bad idea. I left a space that I felt so good for so long. It was hard, it was scary, and it was also sad. But it was necessary. I had to adapt, to mobilize those new skills and the work that I now love to do. And here I am, and the law school adopted me as a professor of practice, a job I did not even know existed. And thank you to Dean Burke for saying, you could have a job doing this. I co-direct an institute, lead a consulting firm. We do work from Alaska to Oregon to the Caribbean. And I co-lead a land-based project with a number of people. And it all brings me joy, going back to your previous keynotes, by the way. It is a beautiful and completely unexpected life, and it brings me deep joy. So I share this story with you, one, to open you to unimagined possibilities, to the thing that you thought you wouldn't love to do, but maybe the thing that brings you that joy in your life, to remind you that all good things require hard work and being open. Even plants and trees work to give us oxygen. So it will take hard work, and that work can bring so much joy to your life. And here I'm going to share my last tips for you of what I think are useful skills, approaches to keep in mind when these unexpected opportunities come your way. The first one is work with others with respect and in reciprocity. Never underestimate people enjoying working with you, feeling honored by you. Show people that you care about what they say. Smile, nod, say thank you. It goes a long way. People will want to work with you no matter what you want to do, just because they want to be in your company. Recognize that difference is the norm, not the exception. Never assume anyone believes what you believe, has had the same experiences, or sees the world the same as you. We're all unique and mysterious. It's good to be open to that mystery, even within ourselves. Remember to change registers. I do not talk with you as I talk with my sisters. That would be weird and potentially inappropriate. Potentially, our sense of humor is a bit rough. We share love in that kind of tough way. We can still be authentic though, and adapt to different contexts at different kinds of relationships and be ourselves in those relationships. Be a person of your word, follow through on agreements, and communicate if anything changes. People trust someone who keeps their word. Recognize what comes easy for you and what is hard, and then work with people who can do what is hard for you. Learn from them and rely on them. It's okay to not be the best at everything. We get to support each other and learn from each other. This one you know. Be comfortable with discomfort and conflict. That you spent 2 years learning. I will not dwell on that one. But I will dwell on this one. It is okay, and actually I look forward to hearing you say at some point, I do not know, or I will check for you. Let's be humble. None of us, neither of us here, can say that we know everything. And Google and AI do not have all the answers, or any of us in this room. Definitely not AI, I'm gonna say that right now. No robot will have the answer, especially with the kind of care for human relationships that all the work you want to do requires. Our human capacity is what allows us to do that work and doing it with each other. So be humble in that process. Again, thank you for having me and listening to the stories. And I leave with you a little wish, what I wish for you. Find what you love and live your best life doing it. It truly does not get any better than that. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Professor Rios Santos. During the next part of the ceremony, our Cres Faculty Director, Professor Eric Gervin, will present the Conflict and Dispute Resolution Master's Program Class of 2023. Professor Gervin will present each candidate and read a short outline of that candidate's background, interests, and career plans. We will recognize each candidate in alphabetical order by last name. Candidates, remember to have your diploma cover handy, which I will hand to you. Photo op right front and center, and then proceed down this way, okay? With that, I will give the podium to Professor Gervin.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Thank you to everyone who showed up to support our graduates. Congratulations, all of you. Start off, Ducky. Ducky graduates with a Master's of Science in Conflict and Dispute Resolution. Ducky is a white, Jewish, trans, neurodivergent organizer and rabble-rouser. She completed a Bachelor's of Science in Environmental Studies at the University of Vermont. Her life's trajectory has been guided by a deep connection to nature and a passionate desire for the collective liberation of all who share this planet. These values have led them to organize numerous campaigns in support of environmental defense, indigenous sovereignty, prison abolition, mutual aid, and other liberatory causes. In turn, this on-the-ground work with communities of resistance awakened a desire to understand how strong communities function in the absence of policing or other forms of coercive institutional control. Through the Cres program, Ducky has focused their studies on justice, abolition, healing, and care work with generative approaches to conflict at the center. After graduation, she hopes to continue working with communities of resistance wherever the front lines exist, building relationships and helping to shape effective community-based formations for equity and liberation. Congratulations, Ducky.
See how this works.
Katie Moreland. Katie graduates with a Juris Doctorate and a Master's of Science in Conflict and Dispute Resolution. Katie completed her undergraduate work at Oregon State University, where she majored in cultural anthropology, minored in Chinese language and culture, and earned a food and culture and social justice certificate. In the summer of 2021, she was an honors intern at Vermont Law School's Center for Agriculture and Food Systems. Her final Cres project is an undergraduate curriculum entitled Law, Land, and Food, a critical analysis of land and food regimes in the United States. Katie loved that the Cres program allowed her a holistic, multidisciplinary education and encouraged her to lean into her academic passions. She hopes to use her law and conflict resolution studies to help transform our food system and aid underserved communities in agricultural and land acquisition and retention. Congratulations, Katie. Cherie Salihan. Not here. Sabrina Kaufeld. Sabrina graduates with a Juris Doctorate, a Master's of Science in Conflict and Dispute Resolution, and a Master's of Nonprofit Management. She attended the University of California, Berkeley, where she completed her Bachelor's of Arts in Peace and Conflict Studies with a concentration in human rights and human security in 2018. During her time in the Cres program, Sabrina interned with Kids First Child Advocacy Center, Catholic Charities of Oregon Immigration Legal Services, Trafficking Law Center, Youth Rights and Justice Nonprofit, Washington Attorney General's Torts Division, and Honorable Judge Ann Aiken, U.S. Federal District Court District of Oregon. Sabrina's final Cres project was titled Judicial Letdown: How Nonprofit Financial Management is Critical to Providing Conflict and Dispute Resolution and Legal Services to Sex Trafficking Survivors. Her favorite part of the program was her ability to study Cres in a transdisciplinary manner. Sabrina plans to study for and take the July 2023 bar exam. She'd like to thank Catherine Moreland and the other friends, family members, and professionals who have supported her here for these last 5 years. Congratulations, Sabrina. Erin Speltz. Erin graduates with a Master's of Science in Conflict and Dispute Resolution and a Master's of Science in Economics. Erin earned her undergraduate degree in both Peace Studies and Economics from the College of St. Benedict, St. John's University of Minnesota. Her favorite part of the Cres program is that it encourages students to take classes across diverse disciplines. She completed a course concentration called Addressing Economic Conflicts with Social Development Approaches in a Global Context, where she took classes in the fields of law, economics, and global studies. Erin completed internships at the Federal Mediation Conciliation Service, Services for Student Athletes, and National Policy Consensus Center. She would like to give a shout out to Dr. John Davis for supporting her as an academic advisor, mentor, and serving as her course concentration advisor. Congratulations, Erin. Hadley Underwood. Hadley graduates with the Master's of Science in Conflict and Dispute Resolution. Hadley's undergraduate degrees are in Recreation and Leisure Studies, Human Resource Management, and Business Administration. During her time in the Cres program, she interned with the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, the University of Oregon Ombuds Office, the University of Oregon Student Conflict Resolution Center, and the Center for Dialogue and Resolution. Her favorite part of the Cres program was being able to teach her Managing Conflict in Organizations class about the field of ombuds work. Hadley hopes to find a job that nurtures her interest in conflict resolution in a higher education setting. She would like to thank her advisor, Eric Irvin, Cres Program Director, John English, and Professor Claire Fowler for helping her succeed in the Cres program. She'd also like to thank her parents, her sister, her brother-in-law, and friends for their unwavering support during these past 2 years. Congratulations, Hadley. Back up.
Thank you, Professor Gervin. There are a lot of thank yous going around today, and appropriately so. I would like to take a moment to extend a special thank you to our graduates. I want to thank you for something very specific. You can come back. We're almost done. I want to thank you all for something very specific. There are times when I look around the world and feel a bit disheartened by the discord, the acrimony, the polarization. I find myself becoming weary and a bit cynical. Then I think about the personal statements you all wrote as part of your application to this program, and I realize we're going to be all right. We have new leaders emerging, leaders who will go out into the world and use their skills and knowledge to listen, to problem solve, and to act. Reading your stories and hearing your aspirations bolsters my faith in humanity. You are all so diverse, yet you share three common characteristics from my perspective. One, a strong sense of social and civic responsibility and a willingness to engage. Two, a passion for social justice. And three, an authentic desire to make the world a better place. So I'm inspired to learn of the things you've done coming into this program. I'm inspired by the things you accomplish while you're here, and I'm both inspired and excited to think of the things you will do moving forward. So in closing, let me leave you with a short quote from Howard Zinn. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. So thank you for all of your hard work. Congratulations. That adjourns our ceremony. Please stay and enjoy a meal with us and mingle and take pictures and just enjoy hopefully the not too rainy weather. And again, thank you all for coming and for all of your support.